Howdy, folks. Live from Big Top Chautauqua, welcome to another episode of Tent Show Radio. I can't believe another year's going around. Is at a big top I see they're lying on the ground. Ballyhoo. Ah, ballyhoo. Support for Tent Show Radio is provided by Travel Wisconsin, reminding you to have some fun. Visit travelwisconsin.com and plan your trip today. And by Nook, a unique gift shop setting offering pies made from scratch, Norwegian and American meals, or just coffee and conversation. Nook.com. And now here's your host of Tent Show Radio, best-selling author, singer, songwriter, and intermittent pig farmer, Michael Perry.
Thank you, Phil, and howdy, Tent Show folks. Oh, it's great to be way up north here under the beautiful blue and pearl gray canvas, this fine, stout tent at the foot of Mount Ashwa Bay, overlooking the ancient waters surrounding the Apostle Islands and just one sail full of breeze away from Shawamigan Bay. The performance you're about to hear is one in a long, long tradition of singing, dancing, and storytelling performed live and in person beneath this beautiful tent. We keep her pitch from June until the autumn moons, and we'd be most grateful if you choose to join us. You'll find a complete schedule at bigtop.org. We hope you join us, and if you do, when the first note rises from the stage, we think you'll understand why patrons and performers alike love to say, Big Top Chautauqua. It's the Carnegie Hall of tent shows. Tonight on Tent Show Radio, as part of his Alice's Restaurant 50th anniversary tour, it's, and of course it would be, Arlo Guthrie. And later on, during intermission, I'll tell you a little story about going for a run. Sort of. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest is permanently classified under needs no introduction due to his personal, familial, and cultural bona fides. And if I may presume to say so, he's the sort of fellow who would get a kick out of being introduced by way of needing no introduction. So let me just say Arlo Guthrie is in the tent tonight, and while I'm not privy to which songs he'll fetch from the singing satchel this evening, I'll bet my shiniest nickel that when the man who wrote Alice's Restaurant Massacree stops by the Big Top on the Alice's Restaurant 50th anniversary tour, he's gonna, at some point in the proceedings, sing Alice's Restaurant Massacree. So let me just get out of the way and see if I'm right. Ladies and gentlemen, a perennial canvas top favorite, Arlo Guthrie.
I just want to ride on my motorcycle. wanna ride on my motorcycle. Thank you. It's nice to be back. We're going to do some stuff tonight that's going to go back even longer than 40 years ago. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Here's one of the old ones. Hold me from the wind and take my hand. The song is sounding, softly singing. My song is cast upon the rainbow waves, forever splashing in the sunlight. Prove to me there's a love still left in all of this emptiness around me. Take me from the chill of the evening. Though you know my love that I must go, following the winds that blow inside me. I've nowhere left to run or hide, except if you will come and run beside me. And even if you do, there'll be a lot for us to do to keep believing. Take me from the chilling of the evening. Now my time has come down many streets. I'm coming from a night decaying. The song that itself sings is all alone. I cannot even hear it playing. And now to leave before I understand just what it is, I know I'm leaving. Take me from the chilling of the evening, of the evening. It's nice to sing some of the old songs, you know, when you get to do a tour like this, and some of the old ones, I had to relearn them. So here's an old one I learned from my father's best friend, a guy named Cisco Houston, back decades ago. Just an old song from New Orleans I've been playing for years now. Down in old Joe's barroom at the corner by the square, the Drinks were served as usual, and the usual crowd was there. Now on my left stood Big Joe McKennedy. His eyes were bloodshot red, and as he looked at the gang around him, these were the very words he said. I went down to the St. James Infirmary. I saw my baby there, stretched out on a long white table, so young, so cold, so fair. 17 coal black horses hitched to a rubber-tied hack. 7 girls going to the graveyard, only 6 of them are coming back. Well, let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she may search this wide world over and never find another man like me. Bury me in my high-top Stetson hat. Place a $20 gold piece on my watch chain to let the Lord know I died standing pat. I want 6 crap shooters for my pallbearers and a chorus girl to sing me a song. Place a jazz band on my verse wagon just to raise hell as we roll. Well, now that you've heard my story, I'll take another shot of booze. And if anyone here should ask you, I've got the gambler's blues. If you don't believe this is pig meat, ask anybody in the neighborhood. If you don't believe this is pig meat, kind that you won't regret. If you don't believe this is pig meat, kind that you won't regret. I got something about this pig meat, mama ain't told you yet. I was born and raised in the country, mama, but I live in town. I was born and raised in the country, but I live in town. You better believe this is pig meat, mama, from my head on down. That was just an old Leadbelly song. I loved the guy. I grew up listening to him because he was one of those guys that was a friend of my father's. His real name was Hughie Ledbetter. Everybody called him Leadbelly. And although he called himself the king of the 12-string guitar. And he wasn't kidding. The guy could play the thing. And not like instruments these days where the strings are actually close to the guitar. You know, I mean, that guy he could play anything. And fiddle, banjo, mandolin, squeeze box, he could play the piano, he could play, if it made a noise, Leadbelly could play it. And I grew up listening to all the records and stuff, you know, naturally. And like I said, he was a friend of my dad's. And I remember being about 2 years old and standing next to him. One of the earliest memories I have in my life. No conversation or nothing, just standing there, holding on to a pant leg of his or something, you know. And I know I was 2 because by the time I was 3, he was already gone. He was an old man at that time, and I love the stuff. Even by today's standards, what he was doing, what he was playing was not only original, but inventive, but just different. And I love that stuff. I remember wanting to play the 12-string because he did. And I got one when I was fairly young. I've been playing it ever since. And it's come in handy every once in a while. I inherited other friends, a lot of whom lived a lot longer. Guys like Pete Seeger, who I worked with for like 40 years or more than that. And I sure miss Pete. You know, he was one of those guys that was known for playing the big long-neck banjo that he basically invented. But he also played the 12-string guitar about half of the time. And the funny thing is, if you ever saw Pete playing the 12-string, you probably didn't realize, but he was looking at Leadbelly. Because Pete stole everything he could from Leadbelly, and naturally I stole everything I could from Pete. That's just the way it works, you know. And the 12-strings come in handy a few times in my life, pivotal moments, you might say. We finished a tour just last spring, I guess it was, so over a year ago now. Not this last one, but the one before. And I remember we were playing up north of San Francisco, and the tour bus pulled into behind the gig, and sitting there on a bench was a friend of mine I hadn't seen for many, many years, a guy named Wavy Gravy. And if you know that name, or if you don't, Wavy was the announcer in the Woodstock movie, the guy saying, "Don't take the brown asses, man," whatever, you know. I'd met him over the years and loved him, you know. He was just one of these, he's still around, he's just a crazy guy. And so I saw him, the bus pulled in, I ran out, gave him a big hug. We sat down, we was trying to reminisce on a bench there, but neither one of us could remember anything. So we just sat there looking at each other, you know. And eventually we got to talking about what was at that time the upcoming 45th anniversary of the Woodstock Festival. And so it was last August or something like that. And we were getting annoyed because they was actually trying to put together some kind of 45th anniversary thing. And we thought, you don't do that. I mean, the 45th is great for, you know, a birthday or an anniversary or something, fine. But you don't celebrate Woodstock on the 45th. You wait till the 50th. And so we talked ourselves into a frenzy about it. We called up the promoter, you know. We said, "What the hell are you guys thinking?" They said, "Well, we was going to do the 50th, but you might all be dead by then." You had a point. I remember the 40th. That was bad enough. I remember because at that time we had come into been well into this 24/7 news thing, you know, people talking on TV all the time. And so just prior to the 40th anniversary of Woodstock, all the TV people was trying to get a hold of anybody had anything to do with Woodstock for their big 30-second story on the subject or whatever. And I didn't want to do it because it was stupid. And they were all asking the same stuff anyhow. They all said, "Arlo, what was it like, man, being in Woodstock, dude?" You know. And I thought, they don't actually talk like that except to me. That was annoying. And I told them all the same thing anyhow. I said, "Hey, I just remember getting there." That's not an interview worth, you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to avoid it, But I remember some things, don't get me wrong. I remember early in the spring of 1969, I had bought a new car. It was one of these Checkers that they used to use for taxis in some of the big cities, right? And I wanted one because you could fit a whole family in one car. I mean, and I thought, man, if you can do that, you can put a whole band in one car. So I bought one, brand new, and sure enough, it was me and all my guitars and all my stuff. And the guy with a big double bass in those days, you know, and all of his stuff. Another guy with a full set of drums and all of his stuff. Another friend of mine played guitar, all of his guitars, all of his stuff. Their girlfriends, all of their stuff. And we hadn't even opened the trunk yet. I miss that. I know I'm supposed to like the little stupid cars we have now, but I don't. It wasn't just the size, they were built. You remember my wife took it down the highway one time, pulled off at the exit ramp, came to a stop like you're supposed to, and a big semi-truck come right up behind her, smacked right into her. And the truck died. She come home, said she thought something happened. I miss cars like that. It's when America made some cars, man. We went to Woodstock like that, and I remember the closer we got to it, as you can imagine, the more traffic there was, until finally it just come to a dead standstill, and that was miles away still. But we had all the stuff. We had to get there. So they rerouted us to some motel, right? And they was going to fly us in a helicopter to the site. And I was really excited. I was young, never been something like that before. So it was me and Richie Havens, some others, and we got in this helicopter, and the thing took off. And the door stayed open. And no matter how high we went, there was people as far as the eye could see in every direction. And in the chopper with us was 2 New York State troopers, one on either side of the open door. And I remember one was a big John Wayne kind of guy on one side, and on the other was a little Barney Fife kind of guy. And they was looking down there the same as us, you know, and I remember the big one looked at the little one and said, "There's a lot of hippies down there." And the little one said, "Yep." And the big one said, I bet they're doing lots of illegal stuff. And the little one said, "Yep." And the big one said, "Well, I'm not going in there or nothing, are you?" And the little one said, "Nope." And that's when I realized we was going to have a pretty good time at that festival. I was not mistaken. I remember we got there on the first day of that 3-day event, and I was supposed to play on the second day is what they told me. But so I figured I had the day off, the night off. And I'm walking around backstage saying hi to people like you would imagine. And eventually I wander out on this big field with, you know, hundreds of thousands of people and mud and rain, total catastrophes of all kinds. And I was doing what everybody else was doing. So at some point late that afternoon, I had a serious case of the munchies. I need to get something to eat, something to drink. And there was nothing. So I thought, I'll go backstage. So I went backstage. They didn't have anything there either. All they had backstage was 147 cases of champagne they're saving for the end of the event. And by the end of the first evening, that was gone. And I don't remember how many cases I was personally responsible for, but between that and the other stuff we was doing that day, it came as a surprise when somebody come up and said, "Arlo, you got to play now, man." I said, "I can't play now, man. I'm not even here now, man. I'm coming tomorrow." They said, "No, you're here now, man. You got to play now, man." I said, "I can't play now, man. I can't walk now, man." They said, "We don't care about that. Richie Havens been up playing for hours and nobody else. You got to play now, man." And I was too young to realize I could have said no. So I grabbed my big 12-string guitar, walked out on this huge stage, and in the middle of that big stage, they had a circular stage built right in. So while the guys in front was playing, you could set guys up behind them. And when they was done playing up front, just twist the stage around, not be wasting time breaking down the first band, setting up the second one. It was a great idea. I mean, it didn't work, but it was a great idea. And in the middle of the circular stage, they had a big hole for all the cables and mic lines, wires, all that kind of stuff. They didn't tell me about the hole. I wasn't looking for the hole. I'm looking at more people I knew I'd ever see again in my life at one time. And I was looking at them like you could back then, each one individually. That's when I remember falling through time and space. And then the most unbelievable thing happened. I moved through the molecular structure of the wood itself. And I rematerialized on the other side of the hole on stage, almost completely intact. That was my memory of it. Coming in from London from over the pole, flying in a big airliner, chicken flying everywhere around the plane. Could we ever feel much brighter? Coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. There's a man with his ticket to Mexico. No, it couldn't look much stranger. Walking in a wall with his things and all. Smiling said it was the Lone Ranger. Coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. Dead Bobby. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Tent Show Radio.
Welcome back to Tent Show Radio, folks, from the backstage dressing room with the one lonely little light bulb burning. Back home on the farm a while back, I went for a 4-mile run. Let me stop right there in my sweaty shirt and declare the word run, in this case, is being misused to the point of prevarication. There was a time, a long time ago, when I ran a mile in under 5 minutes. Subsequently, fancying myself a bit of a gazelle, I grew my hair long so it would flow in the wind, bought a pair of multicolored running tights, and took to the streets like the sweet Norwegian breeze. Fast forward a few decades, and what you got now is an overgrown, flat-footed, balding wombat stumping over hill and dale with gravel in his socks. Also, when I say I went on this run a while back, I mean last summer. I try to pace myself in all respects. I was glad I got out there, though. It was one of those country calendar afternoons, with the landscape as deep green as it gets, the sky blue but for a few artfully placed cloud puffs passing high above a canvas of treetops clustered dense as broccoli, and sparrows chipping and chittering from a farmyard as I passed. Across the ditch, a row of round bales sat keying in the sun, giving off an aroma that brought to mind the whole leaf chew the old farmers dipped down at the feed mill when I was a boy. A herd of beefers grazed placidly in the valley below. That farm is a holdout. It's not the only one, but things continue to change around our place. At night, we can see the lights of the mall. There are apartments beside the livestock sale barn. And that day, as I chugged down our hill, I met a semi hauling an earth mover, the advance guard of a construction crew set to raise a new house on some adjacent acreage. And in another sure sign of influx, I see more and more joggers out and about. Many of them have earbuds jammed in place and run with the flow of traffic. I interpret this to mean that we as a nation are no longer teaching basic survival skills. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Once you hit 40, you spend every waking day resisting the urge to burn up the rest of your life yelling at anyone who comes within 40 feet of your metaphorical porch. Right at the end of my jog, rhymes with slog, my breathing rate became such that it occurred to me to wonder whatever happened to the whole oxygen bar craze. I know it never really caught on in Chippewa County. In fact, even as a non-smoking teetotaler, I still like it when I pass on the sidewalk beside a small-town bar on a sunny afternoon and catch a whiff of stale smoke and darkness through the screen. As with the keying hay, it allows me to visit but not stay parked in another time. As I turned for the final climb up the steep dead-end road leading home and alongside the property where the new house will go, I observed a thick clump of brush and was reminded that when my daughter went in there to retrieve the hubcap that spun off our van sometime last winter, she discovered the foundation of a long abandoned house. It was a helpful tempering reminder that things come and things go. I looked toward the top of the hill, drew a deep and determined breath, and walked the rest of the way. And now, let's walk on back to the Big Top Chautauqua stage for more Arlo Guthrie. Take us to the restaurant, Arlo.
Sounds like some of you heard this before. I know I have. That's because this song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant was never the name of the restaurant. That was always just the name of the song. And I guess that's why I still call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Well, it all started 50 years ago. 50 Thanksgivings ago. 50 years ago on Thanksgiving, when my friend and I decided to go up and visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice didn't used to live in the restaurant. She used to live in the church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower, with her husband Ray and Facha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they used to have a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And seeing as how they took out all of the pews and having all that room, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. We got up there, found the place was filled with garbage, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the town dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the town dump. We got there, and there was a sign, a chain across the road saying, closed on Thanksgiving. And we had never heard of a dump being closed on Thanksgiving before. So with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset, looking for another place to put the garbage, and we didn't find one till we come to a side road. And off of the side road, there was a 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff, there was another pile of garbage. And we decided that, well, one big pile would be better than two little ones. And rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. And that's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep, didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obi. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obi. I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." So after talking to Obi for about 45 minutes on the telephone, that we finally arrived at the truth of the matter. And Obi said we had to go down and pick up the garbage. We also had to go down and talk to him at the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only one of two things that Obi could have done at the police officer station. And the first thing was, he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest over the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect it. And of course, the other possibility was that, well, he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility we hadn't counted upon. And we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, "Obi, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." And we sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. Now, friends, I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this was happening. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster tire tracks, footprints, dog-smelling prints. They took 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. They took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. And it was after the ordeal we went back to the jail, and Obi said he was going to put us in a cell. He said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in a cell. Give me your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Obi, I can understand you wanting my wallet, so I don't have any money to spend in the cell. But what do you want my belt for?" He said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Obi, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Obi said he was making sure, and friends, Obi was, because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. Took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, having to escape and get away. Obi was making sure, all right. And it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? Still the song about Alice, and she come by, and with a few nasty words to Obi on the side, she bailed us out of jail. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obi come in with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us, and he sat down. a man come in. He said, "All rise," and we stood up. And Opie stood up with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and the judge walked in, sat down with a CNI dog. He sat down, we sat down. Opie looked at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures and looked at the CNI dog. Looked at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures and began to cry, because Opie come to the realization that this was a typical case of American blind justice. And there was no way the judge was going to look at the 27 8x10 colored. It didn't matter, because we was fined $25 each. We had to pick up the garbage in the snow. Of course, that's not what I come to talk about or nothing. I just thought I'd mention it. Thought I'd talk a little bit about the draft. And for those that weren't there, can't remember, or don't know, back in those days, they used to have a thing called the selective service system, which meant that when you was a guy and you turned 18, you had to register with the selective service so that you could select some kind of service that might be of interest to you. If your choice was none of the above, they would help you by making a selection for you. It's what they used to call the draft, and to do that, they had buildings all around the country, and some in New York, one on Whitehall Street, where you used to have to go in, get injected, inspected, infected, neglected, and selected. And I remember I had to go in there one morning for my physical examination. So I got good and drunk the night before, because I wanted to feel my best when I went in that morning. I wanted to feel like, I wanted to look, I wanted to be like the all-American kid. When I went in that morning, I was hung down, I was brung down, I was hung up, I was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking things. And I walked in, I sat down. They gave me a piece of paper, said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. I went in there. I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. Want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth, eat dead, burned bodies. Kill, kill." And I started jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill." And he started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill, kill, kill." Till the sergeant come over, pinned a medal on me, sent me down the hall, saying, "You're our boy." I didn't feel real good about it. I proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there. And they was inspecting, injecting every single part of me, and they was leaving no parts untouched. But I proceeded through until I come to see the very last man. And I walked up, I said, "What do you want to see me about?" He said, "Kid, we only have one more question. Have you ever been arrested?" And I told him the story of the Alice's Restaurant Massacree with 5-part harmony, full orchestration, all kinds of other phenomenon. He stopped me there. He said, "Kid, did you go to court?" And I told him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows. He stopped me again. He said, "Kid, I want you to go over, sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid." I went over there. Group W. Group W is where they used to put you if you might not have been moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench next to me. There was mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers. There was father rapers sitting there on the bench next to me. These was mean, nasty, ugly, horrible crime kind of guys. And the meanest, ugliest, nastiest, the meanest first father raper of them all, was coming over to me and sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $25 and pick up the garbage." He said, "Kid, what was you arrested for?" I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there, giving me the hairy eyeball and all kinds of stuff until I said, "and creating a nuisance," and then they all come back and shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping. We were smoking cigarettes and all kinds of stuff, having a good time, till the sergeant come over. He had some paper in his hand. He held it up. He went like this. He said, "Kids, this piece of 47 words, 37 sentences. One time, the crime, detail, the crime you're gonna say, pretend to about the crime, the rest, and officer's name, kind of thing got to say." And he talked for 45 minutes. Nobody understood a word he said. But we had fun, filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench. And I wrote down the Massacree like I was supposed to, and I put down my pencil, turned over the piece of paper, and there, on the other side of that piece of paper, in the middle of the other side, I mean away from everything else on the other side, underlined, capitalized, and quotated, read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" I went over to the sergeant. I said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of call to ask me about rehabilitating myself. I mean, I'm sitting here on the Group W. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, children, villages after being a litter bug." He said, "Kid, we don't like your kind, and we're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington." And friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in a little folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. They're still there. They've been there 50 freaking years. And I'm not the only one. They've been adding to the collection recently. And so the only reason I'm singing you the song tonight is because you may know somebody in the similar collection. Even some of you could be in a collection like that. And if you ever find yourself in a collection like that, you don't know what to do, there may be only one, well, may not be much you can actually do, but there's something you can try. And that's to be wherever you are at whatever time, as it were. Stop whatever you're doing and go something like this. You just say, "You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant." That's it. That's enough. Just a couple bars at Alice's restaurant. Stop wherever you are. Imagine one person just doing that. Probably not worth collecting. But imagine two of them. Maybe two of them that was trying to get married in Texas or something. Or three of them out in Utah or Idaho. I don't know. Or maybe 50 people somewhere. Or maybe 50 people a day. Or maybe 50,000 people all across America. Stop whatever they're doing, singing a few bars at Alice's restaurant, letting it go. You know, when you get people singing like that, even the people collecting might start singing along. And when you get people singing along, no matter where they are, what side of the aisle, where they come from, or who they are, it becomes what we used to call a movement. Now, one of these days, somebody's gonna write a song like that that's worth singing. Probably not this one. But while we're waiting for that one to get wrote, we can practice on the one we got. So we'll wait for it to come around here on the guitar. Some of you already know it. Goes something like this. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track, and you can get anything you want. And No. I mean, I know I love this place, but that sucks. You want to change the world, you want to end war, stuff like that, you got to learn to sing loud so it's worth collecting in the first place. So we'll wait for it to come around again and give it another shot. I'm still not proud or tired. Here we go. You can't get as better at Alice's Red, except in Alice you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in and surround the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Da 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 da. At Alice's restaurant. Riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central, Monday morning rail. 15 cars, 15 restless riders, 3 conductors, 25 sacks of mail. All along the southbound Odyssey, train pulls out at Kankakee, rolls along past houses, farms, and fields, passing trains that have no names, freight yards full of old black men, the graveyards of the rusted automobiles. Good morning, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Dealing card games with the old men in the club car. Penny a point, ain't no one keeping score. Pass the paper bag that holds the bottle. Feel the wheels run beneath the floor. And the sons of Pullman porters and the sons of engineers ride their father's magic carpet made of steel. Mothers with their babes asleep, rocking to the gentle beat, and the rhythm of the rail is all they feel. Good morning, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Nighttime on the city of New Orleans, changing cars in Memphis, Tennessee. Halfway home, and we'll be there by morning. Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. But all the towns and people seem to fade into a bad dream. The steel rail still ain't heard the news. The conductor sings his songs again. The passengers will please refrain. This train's got the disappearing railroad blues. And good night, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Oh, good night, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm
Arlo Guthrie, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Arlo. Circle on back sometime.
From the top of Wisconsin, Tent Show Radio is a production of the nonprofit Lake Superior Big Top Chautauqua, the summer home of Tent Show Radio. Support for Tent Show Radio is provided by Travel Wisconsin, reminding you to have some fun. Visit travelwisconsin.com and plan your trip today. And by bayfield.org. This February 6th and 7th is the 21st annual Apostle Island Sled Dog Race across the pristine snow-covered Bayfield Peninsula. Bonfires will roar as the mushers and teams are cheered on in this dramatic annual adventure. This and more online at bayfield.org. And by the Bayfield Inn, centrally located downtown Bayfield, with a variety of suite, condominium, and home rentals offering views of Lake Superior and the Apostle Islands, thebayfieldinn.com. Tune in next time or listen online. For program notes, station locations, Big Top summer show schedule, online ticketing and touring schedule of the Blue Canvas Orchestra, visit bigtop.org. Join us on Facebook or give us a call at 1-888-BIG-TENT. Tent Show Radio is produced by Tom Fabjans, Michael Perry, Jamie Hansen, and yours truly, Philip Anich.
Well, folks, that's our show for tonight. Whether you join us in the tent or join us in the air, whether you beam us or stream us, we're as grateful as a guy who's prepared to walk if he can't run. Remember, the Big Top is open all summer long and into autumn and has been for going on 3 decades now. We'd love it if you came up and or over for a show. And if you're traveling by World Wide Web, I'd be grateful if you dropped by to visit me, your grateful Tent Show radio host at sneezingcow.com. Yep, just the way it sounds. I'm going to head on back home now and see what's changed. Drive careful. If you can't drive careful, watch out for the other guy. We'll see you next time, and remember, where I come from and here at Tent Show Radio, nobody ever says goodbye. They just say, well, I suppose.